you've ever looked at some kind of fitness influencer online and you've seen their tiny portions, their 5 a.m. gym routine, and then thought, well, why can't I do the same thing? Why do I have my hand in a bag of chips at 9 p.m. watching someone's what I eat in a day, and they seem to have it all together, but I am a consistent failure? If you've ever thought that or experienced something similar, you are not alone. I did that cycle for probably about 10 years, and I've since been able to lose 40 pounds, keep them off with relative ease, because I learned these 8 simple tools that helped me to brainwash myself into changing my behavior. The mechanics of fat loss are simple. You've got to eat less calories than your body burns, which is going to dip into your stored fat cells and deplete them over time. I think we all know that that's kind of how this works. But the hard part is not the what of weight loss, it's the how to change behavior. This is where things get really, really complicated, because there's no law to how things work. It's just a series of more likelies. So in terms of brainwashing yourself, there are proven behavioral change tools that you can use, just like I did, that allow you to change those ingrained behaviors. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first one is really simple. Stop trying to change your behavior, like not going out to eat, not drinking alcohol, not binging on chips, and instead create an environment that forces you to do the kind of things that are going to be helpful for you to reach your goals and lower your calories. And James Clear talks about this in his book Atomic Habits, that environment is the hidden hand that shapes behavior. I constantly think about this fact in terms of anything that I'm trying to do. The question I ask is, what environment is going to make it easier for me to do the action I want? If that's eating a lot of vegetables, I'm more likely to make a big salad if all my veggies are already prepped and chopped and there's no alternatives when I go to the fridge. Whatever food is visible to me and easy for me to eat is the food that I'm most likely to eat. That could be a jar of cookies on my counter, or it could be a basket of apples. So which of those is an environment that is more likely to get you the behavior that you want? I'm going to say the word more likely a lot, and that's because behavioral change is just a series of more likelies. Would you be more likely to succeed if every night you knew exactly what to eat, you had all the ingredients for that, and it took you 5 minutes to make? Like my core weight loss meal, which I'm going to share with you later on in the video. I have an environment where I don't have to think and plan, and it's easier for me to make that meal than it is for me to get takeout. Create systems that allow you to slip into behaviors naturally. You're more likely to go to the gym if you have a gym buddy. You're more likely to eat healthy if you don't have unhealthy food in your house. I'm more likely to do YouTube if now, like I do, I have a very easy to use camera. It's amazing how much small things that you think are not going to affect your behavior really, really do. And if you don't believe me, think about how easy it is to drink too much or eat too much when you go out with a group of friends who are doing the same. That's environment, baby. Number 2 is to reward rather than punish. Most people try and change their behavior through punishment. When they do something that isn't quite right, they're really down on themselves. When they're less than perfect, they're saying things like, you're stupid and you're a failure and that was dumb and why can't you get this together? But if you look at how animals, children, and dogs actually change, we do so easier via reward than punishment. So you've got to use that as a proven tool and really get out of this habit of constantly having some kind of negative association with trying to change. Instead, you want to reward and celebrate progress directionally, not whether you're perfect or whether you failed, but whether you took a step forward. So that could look like going to the gym and just walking through the front doors, which I've done many, many times. I have a minimum target to do that, and I still can reward myself or tell myself I've done a good job if that was the difference between me going and sitting on the couch and watching Netflix. And humans are consistently shown to respond really positively to what we should do and reward and do more of the things that are helping us move towards success, and almost to ignore the things that aren't. One of my favorite books ever is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in the book, the author shares a story of a janitor who was extremely bad at their job. And everyone who worked around this janitor would constantly ridicule him and just talk really badly to him. And he had no incentive to change because everyone had a terrible expectation. Well, someone in that environment wanted to see if they could change this. So instead of focusing on all the things that this guy did wrong, they instead started celebrating and praising the things that they did right. Little by little, this terrible janitor started to do more and more and more things right, and eventually became an exceptional part of that work environment. Focus on where you are making progress, no matter how small. Reward yourself with small things like stickers, high fives, get around people who are going to say good job, say it to yourself, and build a behavior of reward, not punishment. Number 3 is to have an oh crap plan, and this is your backup. This is one of the ones that I see so many people miss out on, and that is that they think that they are going to be operating at 100% all the time. You're really not. So you have to have some kind of minimum target or some kind of contingency for when you're going to have a less than perfect day. Your diet doesn't have to be 100% to win. It just has to be mostly better than what you've been doing in the past. And what we're trying to avoid in this is pendulum swinging behavior, because that's really what causes weight gain over time. It's the dieting super strict for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and then it's the let me just eat whatever I want and not think about this over Christmas time. Success is not about making perfect decisions, it's about consistently avoiding really dumb ones and deciding that you're going to have a binge after having one slip up in your diet. It is dumb behavior, and like, don't get me wrong, I've been there too, so I know what that feels like, and this is where reward not punishment and all these other things come into play. But at that point, if you know that, hey, I'm going to, because I've set that already, I have an expectation that I won't be 100%. I'm going to have my oats prepped. I'm going to get back on track at the next meal. I'm going to eat a huge bowl of ramen noodles, and I'm just going to have my side of broccoli in there. Then you know that you don't have to be perfect, but you're not giving up. If I can just give one piece of advice to anyone on a weight loss journey, it's don't give up all the time. Pause, don't quit, have a backup plan. This gives you a safety net to start to avoid some of that pendulum swing behavior. And it's also going to lead to more trust in yourself because you're not throwing in the towel all the time. Side note of one of the ways that I do this is I'll pretty much let myself have anything that I want to eat, and I will always add a side of vegetables or a ton of vegetables to that meal. And if I'm cooking at home, I don't use oil. So even if I'm craving a creamy pasta, even if I want to have some fries or some chips and put them in my air fryer, I'm still going to have my bag of broccoli with that. I'm still going to have broccoli when I order a pizza. So I'm just not quitting, but I'm definitely not perfect. Number 4 is to learn to stop making impulse decisions around food. And if you think about the times that we derail, most of those are very emotionally fueled decisions where we go, well, I'm just here right now and I feel like I've been missing out, and someone just handed me something and I don't want to disappoint my mother-in-law. And so we have these impulsive decision-making processes around what we put in our mouth. And a lot of the time you go, well, I didn't even want that food. I didn't even know how it got there. And now I'm here knee-deep in cherry pie. But what we can do is we can start to resist those impulse urges, and we can start to create a gap between them so that your decision making around food, again, doesn't have to be perfect, but you're starting to create a barrier where those are more logical decisions as opposed to impulsive emotional decisions. And then really the easiest way to do this is just to draw out the timeline between when you have an urge and when you fulfill it. And you might only be able to do a minute to begin with, but a minute teaches you that you can change. You can have an urge to eat a cookie and wait 1 minute. You can be at a cafe and see some vegan treats that you like and wait 10 minutes. Wait 5 minutes if you can't wait 10. There's been a lot of times where I've gone to cafes and I've seen vegan food, or I've wanted to eat gelato, and I use this tactic where I tell myself I can have that. That's totally fine. Nothing's off limits, but let me just wait it out for 10 minutes while I sip my chai and then see if I still want it. And probably I'd say like 7 to 8 times out of 10, I don't really need that thing once I've had a little bit of time to think about it. And now I'm at a point where if I want to eat takeout, I know I can do that, but I can also put that off for days, if not weeks at a time. But it started much smaller. This is almost like a muscle that you start to build inside of your body, just like what you do when you're strength training, where you need to put your muscles to failure or under pressure in order to grow. You start with a small, easy weight, 1 minute, and then you build up your reps to a lot longer than that, weeks and maybe even months. Another reason this is so powerful is it gives your logical brain time to catch up with your emotions. And then maybe you just decide you didn't really need that cookie, or you didn't need that milkshake after all. Number 5 is you want to measure progress in terms of inputs, not just outputs. What's an output? It's losing weight on the scales. What's an input? It's eating veggies every day or getting your steps in. There's a fascinating study that took 2 groups of people over a 6-week period, and the first group, they had them weigh themselves every single day. The second group, they didn't weigh at all. Now, here's a really interesting thing. The first group, they didn't change anything. They literally just hopped on the scales. But at the end of the 6 weeks, and this was over Christmas time, they had lost 3.9 pounds. The untracking group had gained 4.9 pounds. Simply by observing the inputs, they got better outputs. So weigh yourself daily, eat a pound of vegetables every day, track your steps, and start to watch those outputs on the scales actually go down. Number 6 is to see your behavior as a steering wheel rather than a dartboard. Steering wheel is directional. It's not right or wrong or good or bad, it's just moving you in terms of where you want to go. A dartboard is you have to be on the board to succeed, and if you're not, you're a failure. And then you're not really likely to hit the middle very often. A dartboard has a clear way to win. If you aim and you don't hit the middle, then you don't win. If you aim and you're not even on the board, then you're completely failing. And when we see our progress like this, we get discouraged because there's only a small way we can win, as opposed to seeing any kind of change in our behavior, in the way that we want to go that aligns with our goals as positive. All we're really trying to do to get these amazing, great goals that we have for ourselves is just steer ourselves in the direction of change. You become that person by making steps in that direction, not by hitting the mark every single time. Number 7 is to reframe your negative self-talk. And when I say negative self-talk, I'm talking about anything that doesn't help you to be growth-minded or serves you towards taking positive action. This is things like, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm never going to make this work, I don't know how to do this. Think about things that are disempowering. Instead, identify these thought patterns when you start to feel a sense of hopelessness or overwhelm or like you can't move forward, and look and see, well, how could I actually reframe that in my mind to give me the opportunity to grow? So for example, instead of saying I feel overwhelmed, I say I'm thinking through a lot of things right now and I haven't decided what I'm going to process yet. One is me being empowered. One is me just saying like I am a certain state of feeling, and it doesn't really give me options to change or take action. Whenever I start to feel like a failure, I remind myself that change takes time and that I am slowly moving in the direction that I want to go. And if I'm not, it's just data. So I can learn from it, or I can choose to let it make me have a bad day. I'm also constantly reminding myself that at the end of the day, things don't really matter all that much. Oftentimes I feel a lot of pressure in my business or with YouTube or in anything where someone might think badly of me or I might disappoint someone. And then I remind myself that it's really mostly just on my phone or on a screen. And if I decided to turn that off and never open it up again, then it would almost all go away. And there'd be negative consequences to that, but it allows me to reframe that in a way that is de-paralyzing and instead helps me to take action. Finally, number 8 is to create a core weight loss meal that you can eat every single day that is a no-brainer for you. So for me, that is sweet potato, which I roast up in the oven. It is broccoli, which I steam in my steamer, and it is air-fried tofu. I have this with some barbecue sauce or some salt and pepper, and it's something that I always have those ingredients prepped in my fridge. The tofu's ready and the potatoes are cooked. This means that I don't have to use brain power, and instead I'm really just on autopilot, literally just like monkey see, monkey do mode when I open the fridge, which means that I end up just doing it. Remember that any kind of change is just a series of more likelies. So you can always ask yourself this question: would I be more likely to take an action step if I said this thing to myself, or if I said this thing? Would I be more likely to enjoy my food if I add salt, or if I tell myself that I can't? Would I be more likely to make progress if I had a group of people around me, or if I'm the only one doing this? If you use this filter of more likelies, it can become much easier to see what you need to change because you're not battling against your own willpower. Instead, you're setting up an environment and a system that forces you to make better and better and better choices. All of this is really just a game where you don't have to be smart, you don't have to be disciplined, and you don't have to win every hand. Hope that you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments which of these things you're going to implement. And if you want to know exactly what to eat for weight loss and how I make these kind of meals, then you can check out this video next. All right, bye.